And welcome to the Tour Report from Secret Golf. It's a big week this week because we are talking about the final regular season event of the PGA Tour season and before the FedExCup Playoffs begin next week. So, Elk, we're really looking at guys that need to stamp their place or move on into the 125 because those are the guys that not only make it to the first round of the playoffs, but if they're not fully exempt, they lock up their full playing privileges for the following season.
Yes, and good morning to you, Diane. We are at the finale. This was actually a tournament that I won in 1990. It wasn't at this golf course, but it was a different time of the season. But yes, this is a very important time of the year. This is, as you said, people are trying to lock up their cards. We talked about three major champions last week when I was talking about Stuart Sink. Was he going to be gone off the tour? He did his job last week. Been watching a kid named Austin Smotherman. He was outside of it looking in. We got him to move up last week. And, of course, everybody knows that you won again with Tony Finau. You pipped my guy, Cameron Young. So we went first and second last week. So I got to say, we have our finger pretty much on the buzzer, Diane. I think we've found the formula of, of course, I know what these guys are thinking about. I know who's grinding 10 times more than the guy next to him. Mm-hmm. And that's the way we're going to look at it again this week.
I looked it up and this was our 7th outright winner of the season, which, I'm not bigging ourselves up too much, but it's really difficult to pick the winner of a PGA Tour event. And it's really difficult for these guys to go out and win, especially to win back-to-back, which is what Tony Finau did. And as you say, I had Finau as my outright favourite. You had gone with Cameron Young. So, it was really good going, and I'm glad that we got those winners again.
Well, as you know, I talk a lot about on the show about, biorhythms and different things that, where these guys are in their lives, where they are in their schedule, who's playing well. And they rise up, Diane, like a wave, and they ride that wave for a while, and then they come down. And it's our job as handicappers to catch those waves. You've learned well from looking at these stats, listening to, of course, your brother is in the game as well, Russell Knox, of course. That's our job. We're trying to give people a hint on what's going to happen, and we've been doing a good job. You're right. Yeah. But this week is especially nerve-wracking for the guys that are sitting around about 115th on the FedEx to about 135th. Of course, if they make it inside the 125, they're not even thinking about the playoffs, Diane. That's a bonus, but they're trying to get their ticket locked up. So when Hawaii rolls around next year, they all go out to Hawaii and they start the season off equally as Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. Mm-hmm.
There's some interesting guys that are really kind of round about that bubble number. And I look at Kramer Hickok at 122. Ricky Fowler is at 123. So, I was looking yesterday at the FedExCup standings, and the PGA Tour have... So for a lot of the live guys were still being listed in the FedExCup standings even last week. And now they've removed them, so everyone's got a better idea of where they are. And it was a good scenario for the likes of Ricky, who jumped from out with the 125 into it. But God, at 123, he's definitely not safe. The last 2 weeks have been good for a lot of players. I look at Callum Tarran, we've picked him quite a lot on this show, who's played really well the past few weeks, 3M and the Rocket Mortgage, and has jumped up to 109. So for someone like him, who's been playing a lot of golf lately. Stephen Yeager is another one who had a fantastic week and got a top 5 at the Rocket Mortgage last week to really better his number, and he's pretty much made himself safe now. So this is it can be a really stressful time for a lot of these guys, but good thing we're on a relatively easy course this week at Sedgefield, a real kind of positional short golf course, and it's going to suit a lot of players' games.
Yeah, we've seen Sedgefield, as you said, it's a beautiful Donald Ross course. Look at the clubhouse there behind you. You see some of the old school architecture. It's a very much of a chess match around this course. You play out to one side of the fairway so you can get an angle around this nasty bunker, like particularly on that hole right behind you there. We've seen JT Poston, who won this year. Had his first win on this course. Played this course without a bogey. Amazing. Diane, for 72 holes, I think, 3 years ago. So we're going to see some low scoring. but it is a very much feel tourist school, almost tourist school like our old days where, this is tourist school feel. It won't be enough to make the cut for someone like Ricky Fowler. The volatility movement in the FedEx will probably be about 10 spots. So Ricky Fowler's got to be thinking the only way that he can be at 123 and be safe will be probably a top 10 finish will actually get him where he wants to be for next year. Because Ricky Fowler doesn't want to be getting sponsor exemptions from everyone, although I know he will. So I don't have him on my board this week, Diane. He hasn't showed me much lately, and I don't think he's worried about getting on the tour, although pride for him will be very important. I just don't know if the game is there to be able to pull himself into that kind of position.
We saw a little glimmer of hope from him earlier, kind of middle of the season, and thought this could be it. This could be him maybe finding some form and really getting back to the Ricky of old, and then it kind of went the opposite way again. So tough one for him. As you say, he's going to get those sponsor exemptions. But, this course last year, I think the Kevin Kisner model really demonstrates how to get the job done well around here. Kevin Kisner, Webb Simpson also had a huge amount of success, but Kisner won that 6-man playoff last year. And it really is, as we said, a short course. So you don't need massive length off the tee. Accuracy plus excellent putting is what's going to get the job done.
Yeah, it's a very interesting piece of property. It sort of has these ups and downs where you lay up short of little crossover creeks. There's one on 18. There's another one on the front. Little creek winds through the front 9. So the big bombers off the tee don't have any advantage. And Kevin Kisner, Webb Simpson, who've actually made a fortune around this golf course is because they can just play their normal drive and they can just play the angles and putt well. And it'll be a low score. It's very warm this time of year up in Greensboro. So, I'm ready, Diane. I've got myself what I think is highly motivated guys this week.
Okay, well, a lot of my picks this week are maybe some of the favourites, but, Tony Finau last week was, 14, 15 to 1 when I picked him. So I'm not breaking away from that model too much. But as I said, I'm looking at really accurate players who can putt well and guys that have form on this course. So those were my criteria for my picks. Right, I'm going to let you go first this week then with your outright favourite for the Wyndham Championship.
Well, I'm looking at 3 guys. I'm going to tell you which one I'm going to pick, but I'm looking at Will Zalatoris, of course, who hasn't won. We all know that we'd like to be on Will Zalatoris for his first win. Davis Riley, who was in the running for the Rookie of the Year behind Cameron Young, he's going to run away with it unless Davis Riley wins this tournament and maybe another one in the playoffs, although Young needs a win as well. And, of course, Harold Varner, who's from this part of the country, Diane, who I'm picking this week. Excellent putter, plays good on this golf course. I think Harold's motivated. There was a lot of talk about him going to live, speaking to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan telling him to stay where he is, and 12th in putting, 12th in making birdies, 58th in scrambling. I mean, this course we talked about the Kevin Kisner model. Harold Varner is in that model, and he's from this part of the country. He's just going to drive down the street and play this tournament. Plays well here. So my pick outright this week will be getting his first win on home soil, Diane, Harold Varner.
Yeah, 25 to 1. He's sitting at number 56 in the FedExCup standings. And there's so much made of getting in that 125 this week. But Tony Finau summed it up when he won last week that they've got their own goals, and his goal is to win the FedEx Cup, and he's put himself in prime position to do so. Varner being at 56, he's got to be thinking ahead. Obviously the second event is top 70, but top 30 playing at Eastlake, there's a lot of perks that come with that. So for him, he's put himself in a really good position all season long to really get there. And at 56, a good week here would tie that up for him.
No pressure on Varner this week. Yeah. So he's free swinging.
Okay. Right. Well, my outright favourite, again, I had a lot of names that I was banding around, but I am going to go with Siwoo Kim. And everyone would love to see Siwoo Kim get another win, but he's 28 to 1. He loves this course. He lost in the playoff last year, so finished runner-up. He was 3rd in 2020, 5th in 2019, and he won the tournament in 2016. So that speaks for itself in that he loves the course. He loves these short courses. You think about like Harbour Town Golf Links. He's played well around there before too. But he just came off a top 15 finish at the Open Championship. His ball striking is great right now. I looked at his stats from the Rocket Mortgage, and he was just outside the top 10 in putting. So even though he's only got one top 10 finish this season, he's number 47 in the FedExCup standings. And that just shows how well he's been playing consistently. So I think, primed, playing great, motivated to get into the top 30 for the playoff finale, back on a course that he loves. I love Siwoo Kim at 28-1.
I can tell you love Siwoo Kim this week by that description.
No,
he's great. He's like I said, this is the kind of course that suits a certain type of player. This was a great course for me. I didn't do any good on it, but I won at a course similar to this in Greensboro, but not super long. Play the angles. It's like playing shooting pool or playing chess. You've got to play the course correctly to score a lot here. Okay,
great. So I am going with Siwoo Kim. I'm like, how could I forget that? And your pick is Harold Varner III this week. Right, moving on to our ones to watch. So guys at slightly higher odds. I'm really torn between two here. I don't know how are you getting on in this category?
Well, I'm the same as you. I'm looking at guys that are highly motivated. I was on Austin Smotherman last week, who's outside of the top 125, played well enough last week to move his number all the way to actually on the number 125th. I'll go first at 150-1. I'm still going to ride this kid. He putted good, finished 34th last week. He is sort of on a mini roll for a guy, Austin Smotherman, I'm talking about, on a little bit of a roll, trying for a big push to keep his ticket. That's a very important thing for a young player. Making the cut last week, having somewhat momentum, coming in at 125th. He'll need to make the cut this week if he's going to go to Hawaii next year, meaning that he's going to be on the tour playing Palm Springs in the cool weather, and that's what you dream about when you're on tour, going out there even with everyone else. So I'm going to ride Smotherman. I had about 4 other names here that you and I talked about pre-show, but it's just jumping out that Smotherman is going to do something for me.
Okay, and he's going to be referred to as the bubble boy on the coverage, especially.
He is the bubble boy.
Because he gets 125. Right, well, the two names I'm between, the first one I'm not going to pick, but Adam Scott was going to be my guy. He got into the playoff and lost to Kevin Kisner last year, but he's, tee to green playing great. He's putting really well too. He's been playing a lot, which is kind of rare for Adam Scott, but again, everyone's got their own goals. He's 73rd in the FedExCup standings, so he wants to make sure that he can lock up that second tournament. But I had picked him last week. He was one of the names I was looking at and had a horrendous Saturday, but then backed it up with a 65 on Sunday. So hopefully that good momentum going forward. But, I'm not picking him. My guy that I'm going to go with is slightly higher odds at 40-1, and it's Brian Harman. He's one of our Secret Golf contributors. We know his game well. He's been there or thereabouts pretty much all season. He's had 5 top 10s, top 10 at the Open Championship and at the Travelers just a few weeks before that. But what did I say? I wanted guys that were accurate and great putters, and he's top 15 in both of those categories for the season. So again, 53rd in the FedExCup standing shows the kind of year that he's having, and he's got to be, again, thinking top 30 all the way to Eastlake. So I love Brian Harman at 40-1 this week.
I love Brian Harman as a pick, left-hander. I don't know if that helps on this course, but I'm sure it does because it's a lot of fade shots, so he can draw it. That's helpful. Funny enough, you say that. I'm gonna on our dark horse. You've just given me my dark horse, which I was on it anyway, but another left-hander to talk about in a second.
Okay.
But Harman, yes, he's played well all year. He's not far from home. He'll be thinking about going hunting. He'll have a little bit more golf to play in the FedEx Cup, but this is a great week for him too.
I've got one more name that I just have to mention because if you're a regular watcher of this show, you'll know that I'm always on Denny McCarthy. I think it would be...
Well, I was on Matthew Neesmith too. Matthew Neesmith is the one to watch for me too. Yeah. He can get hot like crazy.
Well, you talk about him, and then I have to mention Denny, who's 4th on the PGA Tour in putting, amazing putting stats, and also has had like 2 top 15 finishes at this tournament before. So I think Denny's 30-1 this week, so there's no way that I'm completely ignoring him. Right, we'll then move on to our dark horses, and these guys have to be over 100-1. I'll go first since you've gone first with the other two. But again, I'll give you two names. One name I was looking at was Tyler Duncan, who had a good finish last week, actually a good weekend. And he is sitting in the top 10 for driving accuracy. So, and I was looking back at comparable courses. He played really well at the RBC Heritage. Again, short course, so kind of similar positional golf to Sedgefield. But I'm going to go with Harris English. This is a little bit out of left field. I think he's around about 125 to 1. But again, it's just a course that suits his game. He won the Travellers, remember, at TBC River Highlands. So again, short course. Plays well at Sea Island, at Mayakoba. He was injured and had surgery, and it's really put him out for a majority of the season. So stats I'm taking with a total pinch of salt. But he finished top 20 at the Travellers just at the end of June. So it shows that, even coming back, there's a bit of form. He's well out with the 125, so we need a huge week to make it to the playoffs. Card locked up already because of his wins, but I'm gonna this is a total gut pick. Harris English at 125 to 1.
Good. Well, I'm even going more gut than you on this one, Diane. When COVID hit back in a couple of years ago, and I was working out upstairs watching the European Tour on TV, I was watching this guy win 3 tournaments in a row over in Europe. And I just couldn't believe how precise this player was. Then he came to America and won almost his first event down in Congaree in the same state as this tournament. No, the next one below, South Carolina. Close, pretty close. And then we haven't heard much from Garrett Higo. Garrett Higo, South African, left-hander. But I'm looking at the board, Diane. This kid is one of the best strikers, the best players, best putters. Everything about this guy is just incredible. I'm looking here at 500 to 1 for Garrett Higo. And he is outside of the 125. However, I think he's still exempt from his win. But I just can't get over 500 to 1 for Garrett Higo. And if you're looking at a make the cut bet, or you're looking at a top 20 bet, I'm sure you're going to get some strong odds on that at 500 to 1 for the win, right?
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, cool. Good on you. I love how you with your dark horse picks, they're either like floating around 80, 90 to 1, or they're like way at the other end of the scale. Now, talking of Congaree very quickly, it's going to be hosting the CJ Cup.
Yes.
But the new schedule just came out at the start of the week for next season, and it's great because you have an interest in that club. You're one of the what's the name? What do you?
I'm one of the ambassadors.
Yeah, it's like an honorary member there, it's a huge charitable initiative that they have set up, which is just amazing. And I went to the Palmetto Championship at Congaree last year, and it was amazing. The course was spectacular. I know you've played it a lot as well, so it's good to have the guys heading back there. Yeah,
it's a very difficult course. It plays just like a Melbourne course in Australia. No rough, very roly-poly around the greens, and if you miss them, they roll way down, go into little nasty spots. But it's a very tricky course. Much like this one, to a certain degree, they'll be scoring be much better on this course. This will be over 20. What was it last week? Your winner, 27, 26. It's going to be, if the weather's decent, it's going to be 25 plus again this week, Diane.
Okay. And remember, we saw that 6-man playoff last year, which was very exciting. So dark horses, I've got Harris English, and you're going with Garrett Higo. Right, excellent. Let's talk quickly about your wins. It was your very first win, the Greater Greensboro Open in this neck of the woods. What do you really remember? Obviously, with it being your debut victory, it's special, and it's always going to be one that has a special place in your heart. But what do you remember about that week?
The thing I remember the most was I won enough money to go home and pay off my house, which you can relate to because you just moved into a brand new house. I had just moved into a house with Lisa and just married, and I was able to go down and give the money to the bank and say, this house is now mine. So that was good. Wow. But it was a very difficult course, Forest Oaks. -6 won the tournament, and I shot 4 under that last 9. I went to the last 9 with about 4 or 5 shots behind, just got hot that last 9, and the leaders kind of fell over at the end, but birdied the last 2 holes and walked away with it. It was great. Very important. And by the way, that was with the Woods. I was playing wooden clubs back then in 1990. It changed for us in the middle of just after that we started using metal. So I do have a win on the tour with a wood.
Good for you. Well done. Right. So this week, and again, JT Poston is one of our Secret Golf contributors. And when he won this tournament in 2019, going bogey free, that was very exciting for us as well. So hopefully we can do it again with Brian Harman this week. I'd be very happy with my 40-1 pick.
No doubt.
And then last week it was Live Golf at Bedminster. Henrik Stenson getting the win and the team victory for $4.375 million he walked away with, which obviously he was the new signing to Live, and Ryder Cup stripped him of his captaincy for the European side. So it was for him, I guess, the perfect introduction to this new world of his golf career.
Yeah, the Majestics, as you said, they finished second in the team. Our own Pat Perez was on the four aces with Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, and Taylor Gooch. Pat Perez now has walked away with $1.8 million the last two events of Live. So nobody's happier on the phone when I talk to him than Pat Perez. I can promise you that.
Right. Well, we're going to do another little show. We'll talk about that and kind of look back at everything that happened last week. But yeah, Wyndham Championship this week, the final event before the playoffs begin. And of course, we'll be back next week to really dive into the first round of the FedExCup Playoffs.